She cried and pleaded not to leave the hospital with her stepfather, and when the doctor followed them, she was stunned by what she discovered. "Hello. Welcome. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications to stay updated." The heartbreaking sobs of a little girl echoed through the hospital corridors, each tear and cry cutting through the air, touching everyone who heard her. With wide, desperate eyes, she turned to Dr. Emily, pleading, "Please don't make me go with him. I don't want to leave." Beside her stood the stepfather, a man with a dark and impatient expression. Dr. Emily, a dedicated pediatrician, had rarely encountered such a painful, desperate cry for help. Her intuition kicked in. Something was wrong. "I don't want to go with him. Please let me stay here," the girl cried, her voice filled with fear as she clung tightly to Dr. Emily, searching for safety from a threat only she seemed to feel. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Emily discreetly decided to follow them. What she later uncovered sent chills down her spine. Known for her dedication, Dr. Emily was a compassionate presence in the pediatric wing of a busy public hospital. She was known not only for her hard work, but for her empathy toward every child she cared for. Often, she worked beyond her shifts, staying to attend emergencies or simply to offer comfort. Her day typically started with rounds, assessing young patients, adjusting treatments, and coordinating discharges. She had a close professional relationship with Dr. Michael, the head of pediatrics and an expert in lung conditions. When he wasn't in surgery, he dedicated time to research in the field. Despite their demanding schedules, Emily and Michael found moments to connect, catching up over a quick meal or coffee in the hospital. They had known each other since her early days of training under him. Michael had been her mentor. One day, Michael mentioned, "There's a conference next month on lung diseases in children. I think you should consider attending." "That sounds amazing. I'll see if I can make it work," Emily replied, excited at the chance to deepen her expertise. "It's important for more doctors to recognize these issues," Michael explained with concern. "Many children miss out on the surgeries they need because of delayed diagnoses." "I'll do my best to be there," Emily promised. "Everything should go smoothly here," she added with confidence. Michael assured her, "It's crucial for specialists like you to be informed. We'll make sure you can attend." Determined, Emily prepared for the conference, diving into research during her free time. She had been fascinated with respiratory health since she was young, inspired by her mother, a respected lung specialist who had shared her knowledge with Emily from a young age. One evening, as Emily was wrapping up, she ran into Dr. Karen, who was starting her night shift. Karen, a more reserved colleague, often scolded Emily for getting too involved with the children. "Emily, you get too attached. They have families for that," Karen would say. But Emily couldn't help it. Her empathy was integral to her care approach, a trait her mother had instilled in her. Karen didn't hold back her criticisms, sometimes pushing Emily to the edge of patience. "You know, parents might take your closeness the wrong way," Karen would remark in a biting tone. "Karen, everyone has their own style. I'm not breaking any rules," Emily would respond, defending her approach. "Rules?" Karen scoffed, walking away, clearly uninterested in hearing more. Their interactions had become tense, with Karen consistently finding ways to challenge Emily's compassion. At first, Karen's words hurt Emily deeply, making her question whether she could endure the hostile atmosphere. But everything changed when a senior nurse, a witness to countless stories over the years, revealed to Emily the root of Karen's hostility. It was jealousy. Emily's kindness and natural warmth had cast a shadow over Karen, igniting resentment. With this new perspective, Emily chose to disengage from Karen's jabs, saving her energy for the patients who needed her most. When she shared her frustrations with Dr. Michael, he agreed with a knowing nod, further validating her approach. The senior nurse explained that, "Doctor, Emily's natural warmth and the affection children had for her often left Dr. Karen feeling overlooked. The young patients adored Emily, viewing her as their favorite doctor, which led Karen to doubt her own work's significance." As she processed these insights, Emily reflected on how emotionally invested she became in her role. By the end of her shift, she realized it wasn't the physical exhaustion that weighed on her, but rather the mental strain of being a bridge between young patients and their families, especially when delivering difficult news. Once home, after a draining day, Emily found her father, Robert, seated on the couch, reading his Bible as part of his evening routine. The comforting smell of home-cooked food filled the air, a dinner Robert prepared himself as he did every evening. After they ate, Emily would often sit with him to share stories from her day. "Guess what happened today, Dad?" Emily began with a grin, as if Robert could already guess the news. "What did Dr. Karen do this time?" he asked, chuckling knowingly. "Oh, the usual. She finds something new every day to criticize," Emily sighed, though there was a lightheartedness in her tone. Then her face lit up. "Doctor, Michael mentioned a conference coming up on congenital lung diseases. I'm so excited." Robert's face mirrored her enthusiasm. He'd always said that his daughter's happiness was his own, a thought that brought her comfort as she recounted her day before heading to bed. The next morning, as soon as Emily arrived at the hospital, she learned that a young girl with severe lung issues had been admitted overnight and had undergone surgery performed by Dr. Michael. Reviewing the patient's chart filled Emily with concern. With her heart racing, she went to the ICU to see the child. In the hallway, she encountered a man with worn clothes and a weary expression, waiting for news about the girl. "Hello, I'm Dr. Emily, and I'll be overseeing your daughter's care." She introduced herself warmly, though he barely responded. Emily explained that the girl, named Sophie, was in recovery but would need to stay in the hospital for further care. The man, who introduced himself as her stepfather, Jack, responded in a distant but clearly anxious tone, "She only has me, but I can't stay here. I need to work." Emily reassured him, "She's in good hands. Our team will keep you informed." His eagerness to leave struck her as odd, but she set it aside to focus on Sophie's well-being. Once he left, Emily examined Sophie more closely, noticing how frail she looked. Her pallid skin suggested an underlying fragility that kept Emily on edge. Sophie lay in bed, nearly motionless, her face calm yet visibly exhausted. Her breathing was shallow, each breath a visible struggle. Emily leaned close. "Are you feeling okay, sweetheart?" she asked gently, hoping to connect. Sophie managed a small smile, as if to acknowledge her presence, before her heavy eyelids began to close. Watching her drift into a deep sleep, Emily felt like she was witnessing a moment straight out of a movie where every second held unspoken words. She reminded herself that there was a full day ahead, but the urgency around Sophie lingered. Later, as additional test results came in, Emily found out that beyond her lung condition, Sophie had a rare immune disorder that heightened her risk of infections. This development intensified Emily's concern, leading her to consult Dr. Michael about both Sophie's health and her stepfather Jack's behavior. Just then, they received word that Jack had returned to the hospital to check on Sophie, and Emily and Dr. Michael headed to her room to meet him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Jack." Emily greeted him calmly. "How is she?" he asked, his tone revealing a hint of worry. "Sophie is improving, though her condition requires her to stay under careful observation due to her weakened immune system," Emily explained. "What does that mean?" Jack questioned as if the diagnosis was new to him. "Sophie has a rare immune disorder that extremely vulnerable to fungal infections," Dr. Michael interjected, keeping a close eye on Jack's reaction. Jack seemed taken aback. "I thought it was just severe bronchitis. How long does she have to stay here?" he asked, clearly displeased. "We're not entirely sure yet," Dr. Michael replied. "Her stay will depend on how she responds to treatment, but rest assured she'll have access to all necessary care, including doctors, nurses, and therapists." Then, turning to Emily, he added, "Doctor, Emily, could you step into my office for a moment?" Emily nodded and followed Dr. Michael out of the room, leaving Jack with Sophie for a few minutes. Leaning close, Jack whispered to her, "I hope you get better soon, so we can get out of here as fast as possible." The tension in his voice seemed to unsettle Sophie. After he left, Emily returned to Sophie's room and found her looking sad and a bit scared. Observing Sophie's demeanor, Emily felt a growing sense of unease. Something about Jack's demeanor didn't sit right with her, and the mystery surrounding Sophie's home life added to her concern. As evening fell, the calm but eerie quiet of the hospital made Emily worry about Sophie being under Dr. Karen's indifferent care through the night. She longed for morning, eager to be back by Sophie's side. At dawn, as soon as she returned to the hospital, Emily went straight to Sophie's room. Sophie looked even more fragile under the morning light, and Emily felt an instinctive need to comfort her. "Good morning, sweetie. How are you feeling today?" Emily asked warmly, her tone cheerful. "I'm a little tired," Sophie whispered, her big eyes filled with exhaustion as they met Emily's. "That's completely normal, dear. I have something special to tell you," Emily said gently. "While you were sleeping, we fixed a little problem in your lung, like a toy that needed mending, but don't worry. It was done with a bit of medical magic, and now you're getting stronger every day." "Did it hurt?" Sophie asked, a mix of curiosity and fear in her gaze. "No, love. You were sleeping deeply, like a little princess," Emily assured her, brushing her hand lightly. "But if you do feel any pain, let me know, okay? We have special medicine to help you feel better." "Will I be here for a long time?" Sophie asked, her voice soft, revealing a sense of vulnerability that tugged at Emily's heart. "You'll stay as long as needed for a full recovery, but if you cooperate with us, eat well, and tell me how you're feeling, I promise we'll get you home quickly," Emily said, aiming to lift her spirits. "Okay," Sophie replied with a shy smile, though her face soon turned serious again. "Where is Jack? When is he coming back?" Emily maintained her reassuring smile. "He'll be back soon. He's asked us to take care of you while he's working," she said, adding a wink to lighten Sophie's mood. Emily dedicated the day to keeping Sophie company, encouraging her to eat despite her diminished appetite. She talked gently, trying to cheer Sophie up. Sophie's small frame looked delicate, her skin nearly translucent, the network of blue veins on her arms hinting at her frailty. Her eyes, lively and full of expression, were shadowed, hinting at sleepless nights and a fight against fatigue. Even her breathing was labored, each breath a testament to her body's resilience. Emily noticed that Sophie rarely interacted with the other children in the shared room. They laughed and played, but Sophie kept to herself, occasionally offering a shy smile, but otherwise staying quiet. Her silence and distance didn't go unnoticed by the medical team, and Emily found herself increasingly curious about Sophie's life beyond the hospital walls. Questions about her family were met with vague answers or silence, adding layers to the mystery that Emily was eager to uncover. On a rainy afternoon, as Emily finished her rounds, she entered Sophie's room to find her curled up on the bed, her wide eyes filled with fear. The door creaked open, and Jack arrived unannounced, insisting on taking Sophie home before she was ready to leave. The sudden visit filled Sophie with a nervous tension, and Dr. Emily immediately noticed the anxiety in her young patient's eyes. The normally calm Sophie turned anxious, her gaze following Jack's every move with a mixture of dread and caution. Emily wondered, is Sophie experiencing abuse, or am I overthinking this? Jack's odd demeanor only fueled her suspicions, leaving more questions than answers. A brief, tense exchange followed, with Dr. Emily and her colleagues explaining that Sophie needed a few more days in the hospital. Jack's visible irritation at the news deepened Emily's concern. Her fellow doctors had also noticed Sophie's distress during his visits, confirming her fears. Determined to protect Sophie, Emily paid closer attention to her behavior, watching for any signs of discomfort or fear whenever Jack was around. What will happen next? To find out, make sure to watch the next video in this story. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a single upcoming story. Your support is our greatest motivation to keep crafting meaningful stories. Now, goodbye for now, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.